Sunday morning, and give me a second. There we go. What are you up to? John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by. It is SDH AM Sunday, and we got a lot to get into in a bunch of different fronts. It is obviously the reviewy, previewy stuff from yesterday. We'll go over Canada and France in depth. We'll go over both of those matches. Canada losing 3-0 to Morocco. We have a lot of analysis to get into in addition to the scores and the stats. You'll hear from our friends up at One Soccer. You'll hear from our buddy Christian Jack and his postmortem, so to speak. You'll hear a conversation that, and it's bits and pieces, a conversation that Andy Petrillo had with our friend Amy Walsh from Footy Prime and our friend Gareth Wheeler about the whole Alphonso Davies mishandling or handling, and it's kind of leaning toward the former. And then you'll also hear from Jesse Marsh after what happened yesterday. That was match number one. Match number two, Paraguay and France. Obviously, there aren't a whole lot of highlights. It's being replayed right now in the Big 55. And we'll go over the numbers. Jason went over it in depth last night on AST, and that will be a bit of our AST rewind for this morning. Jason's discussion about how you're handling things philosophically in a knockout stage. We'll get into that this morning as well. So we'll review what happened yesterday, preview what's going to happen today, and today is the start of the gauntlet. And to be perfectly honest, the next 4 days are going to be insane. Because when you look at the matchups that are going to be going down in the World Championship 2026, as it is labeled by our friends at Odds Portal when we catch up with our juice boxes, it is the World Championship. But when you think about the World Championship and what the matchups are going to be over the next 4 days, and one of those matchups being here at SDH HQ downtown, it is insane to think about the quality that we're going to be seeing over the next X number of days. And of course, if I set it up like this, there's going to be one blowout that's going to be, whatever. Brazil and Norway, just to remind us here, Brazil and Norway is 4 o'clock this afternoon in the Meadowlands. Then late night, middle of the evening, primetime U.S., Mexico and England at the Azteca. You'll hear from Thomas Tuchel as they were getting ready for everything. And God bless the fans of Mexico, considering that they were trying their hardest, even as you had fans of El Tri that were still, playing mariachi music. They were still lining up the bands. They were still launching the fireworks. So you had that to kind of keep an eye on. No real surprise, mind you, that the fans for El Tri were going to be lining things up like this. Britain asking for a perimeter, heavily guarded, double walled off, all that stuff. And, of course, the Mexico fans are going to sit there and line it up. I'd be surprised if they did in Morning David. And so they're trying their darndest to throw off Thomas Tuchel and the Three Lions, where, once again, remember, they were going to hand out sleep aids, noise-canceling headphones, the whole thing. Get to their hotel. And what do you want to bet that's not even their hotel? What do you want to bet? That they've been playing music and launching fireworks outside a dummy hotel. So sleight of hand this time of year when it comes to the knockouts. And we're seeing that with Mexico and England. Like I said, Thomas Tuchel had his MD -1 yesterday. We'll hear from him coming up in a bit. That's Sunday. Monday, Portugal and Spain at Jerry World at 3 o'clock local time, or our time, Eastern. And last time I checked, they don't like each other. That whole Iberia thing. Now, this is where you get into the histories and, hundreds of years in the past. And, this battle here, affected this border and all this kind of stuff. We may do a bit of a history lesson with Portugal and Spain when we get to that point and breaking them down on Monday. That one is going to be intriguing to say the very least. And then you have the U.S. I don't know if you've heard of them, the U.S. men's national team. Then you had the this U.S. men's national team. Like I said, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're taking on Belgium at Lumen. And that one, I know that we all sit there and we think of everything that's lining up here with that particular game. And you have a Monday night football opportunity that is beyond the pale. You have all of that lines up in that one place, in that one way. Just think about what it's going to be. I mean, if you think about that particular matchup, you have Monday Night Football with the U.S. and Belgium. And you have all of these different things that can still be played out. I mean, all of these things, and I've seen on the TikToks and all of the social medias, all the play out that is possible for this particular matchup with the U.S. and Belgium. If you think about it, you've got Monday Night Football. You've got the home of the 12s. You have a place where the noise was so loud in a playoff game, it registered seismically in the northwestern United States. You have all of that stuff that's available in that particular match. That matchup, and as much as the irony of France and almost playing Germany on July 4th in Philly is not lost on me. But you have the possibility of a very loud environment. A very loud environment in that matchup. And that, to me, is going to be a hoot. All of that stuff that can be had. And you have the opportunity for a fantastic environment to avenge. Notice I didn't raise my voice and my index finger. I might do that tomorrow. To avenge what happened a couple of months ago here in SDH HQ. So you have that to look forward to on Monday. And then Tuesday after that, Argentina, Egypt here at the HQ at noon on Tuesday. So obviously that means that the morning show is going to be very, very short on Tuesday. Power hour 8 to 9, and then racing in. Switzerland and Colombia, sneaky good game in Vancouver. Sneaky good game, 4 o'clock. So noon and 4 Tuesday. Quarterfinal, France and Morocco is set for Thursday. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Early access, 4 o'clock, France and Morocco in Foxborough on Thursday. Thursday, Friday, and then the doubleheader Saturday for your quarters. And then that gets us to the semis, which is back here at SDH HQ for one of them. But then the next 4 days, Sunday, Monday, the next 4 matches, really. Next 3 days, and then 5 of the next 6. And really, all 6 matches. I'm not going to blow smoke here. But the 6th match is the one that's kind of sneaky. The next 5 matches across the board. Brazil, Norway, Mexico, England, Portugal, Spain, USA, Belgium, Argentina, Egypt. To lead you into Switzerland and Colombia late afternoon on Tuesday. That's what we have coming up here. So that is what we have to look forward to. And I guess technically that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the stories that you need to start your day. Most important stories of the game, right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy body, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. In addition to all of this World Cup stuff, at least the matches that are going to be happening fairly shortly, we're going to hear from the CANMNT as they get ready for that matchup against Belgium out at Seattle Stadium. You're going to hear from Tyler Adams and Flair and Balogun. Balogun does address the red card. Adams does as well in the sound bites that we pulled. Then after that, last night, for those of you who were true sickos of the highest order, while you were paying attention to the matchup with the late game with France, the Twos were going at it against Toronto FC 2 in Athens at the Turner Soccer Complex. It was a 1-0 win, goal by Daniel Chica. We'll have highlights in hour number 2. Also conversation with Daniel and with head coach Jose Silva. So that'll be up and running as well. So that is the rundown for today. Catch up on yesterday. Get you ready for today. Get you ready for the U.S. Get you ready for the Twos, because the Twos are spending most of the month of July at home after having to start 7 of the first 9 on the road. They're now getting all those home matches back and have a chance to make some hay. Big win for them last night. We'll go over the significance coming up in a bit in hour number 2. So it's World Cup. It is review preview. It is your AM news, checking on your transfers, checking on everything else going on. And we'll let you know what happened with the Twos last night here on the SDH Network. And next matchup is next weekend as Inter Miami CF2 drops by the Turner Soccer Complex. And that will be part of the big Sunday that we get traditionally in MLS Next Pro. So it was starting the weekend in MLS Next Pro in match week 17 with the Twos. And so that was the win last night for them. And we'll go over the standings and we'll let you hear from what happened last night and get you ready for the rest of the week in MLS Next Pro with all your AM news and stuff. Okay. Now, let's get into what happened yesterday. Obviously, starting things off with what went down in Houston, at Houston Stadium. We need to catch up with our buddy Glenn Davis. That's what we need to do. So we need to find out about the vibe in Houston itself. So send a note to Glenn Davis, John. All right. So Morocco takes care of business. They win it 3-0, and it took a little while for the engine to turn over for Morocco. You'll hear about this from Jesse Marsh coming up in a bit. So Azzedine Ounahi scored in the 50th minute to make it 1-0. And Morocco kept knocking on the door. Then in the 82nd minute, they get their breakthrough. And mama, there goes that man again. It's Ounahi with the goal to make it 2-0. Once again, courtesy of our friends at Telemundo Deportes.
La pelota vino por este lado para Brahim para liquidarlo. Díaz enganchó, se demoró el disparo. ¡Gol! Era la tarde Unai. Duplica diferencia, tranquilidad y alegría, sí. Bebe el sorbo de la gloria Marruecos, que por primera vez en la historia se convierte en un equipo africano con doble presencia en cuartos de final de una Copa del Mundo.
So you end up with a brace there. And then once again, as Canada is chasing the match, you end up with a third goal. Soufiane Rahimi at 90+8. Unahi with the brace, 50th and 82nd. Rahimi at 90+8. And it's a 3-0 final for Morocco. Looking at the stats, Morocco is 50-50 in possession if you want to give the in contest. But see, this is one thing about FIFA, is that FIFA goes both sides, and then they go in contest. And I guess where they sit there and they don't want to put a clock on a lot of back and forth. And Greg, thanks for dropping by. It's good to see you on a Sunday morning. So 50% for Morocco, 37% for Canada, 13% in contest is how it's listed. So you end up with attempts on target 10-5 for Canada on the match. 3 of them on target compared to 4 on target. So 5 attempts at goal, 4 of them on target for Morocco, 10 for Canada, 3 on target, 2 off target, 6 inside the penalty area, 4 outside the penalty area, 3-2 for Morocco in their efforts. Final third entries, the numbers were tilted toward Canada here. 30, 40, 61 final third entries for Canada compared to 13, 31 for Morocco. Then you have, see, they really break this down. It's like line breaks, attempted line breaks, discipline, 4 yellow cards on each side, 24 fouls on Canada, 24 fouls on Canada, and it ended up as 14 for Morocco. So as we look at the, let's see, table, knockout. All right, so let's go here. All right, so let's go to our friends at FOTMob and break down Morocco and Canada. They put a line through it. Basically, it's number 7 versus number 30 in the layout for your FIFA rankings. And FOTMob kind of sits there, and they might split the difference a little bit, where FIFA calls it in contest. FOTMob cuts it in half. XG was about even. Once again, total shots 10-5. 33 touches in the opposition, 18 for Canada, going up against 9 for Morocco. Morocco with the 2 big chances compared to 1. 11 corners for Canada, by the way. And 10-5 in shots, 4-1 off target, 4-3 on target for Morocco, 3 blocks, 1 hit the woodwork, 18 tackles compared to 13 for Canada. All the other categories go to Morocco. 9-5 in picks, 3-0 in blocks, 47-10 in clearances, 3 saves compared to the 1 for Maxime Crépeau. And the duels, 59-54, that went to Morocco on the day. And obviously, Unahi was your top graded out player at an 8.9, according to our friends at FOTMob. So, discipline, man, 8 yellow cards, 4 each. 24 fouls committed by Canada, 14 for Morocco. And so those were the numbers in this particular matchup. So looking at the lineup, and we'll get into, once again, the storyline that's attached to the lineup for Canada. Crépeau in net, back 4, Lorea Defougerol, Moise Bombito, and Alistair Johnston. 4 in the midfield, Ali Ahmed, Eustachio, Nico Seeger, who got the start, went 87 minutes, as did Tejan Buchanan. 2 up top. It was Jonathan David and Tani Oluwaseyi. Then for Morocco, Bono in net, it was Mazraoui Halhal, who was a substitute for, he was a switch from the last lineup. Issa Diop, and then Ashraf Hakimi, who had a yellow card and an 8 on SofaScore. Bouadi and El Ayanoui. Bouadi has been getting looked at by a lot of teams in Europe. he has been a constant in our breakdown of all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. El Khanous, Unahi, and Brahim Diaz and Saibati was up top. Unahi's numbers, once again, with an 8.9, 66 touches. It was XG of 0.24, XGOT, goals on target, of 1.39, 75% passing at 33 and 44. One chance created, one big chance created, 2 shots on target, 2 for 2 on his shot accuracy, 2 for 3 on the dribble, 7 passes into the final third, had an accurate cross, had 2 long balls to his credit, and defensively he did have a contribution, 1 clear and 2 recoveries. He was 6 of 10 on his ground duels, did not win a duel in the air, but managed an 8.9 with his brace on the afternoon. So after the match, Jesse Marsh was asked a couple of things, and here is part of the conversation that Jesse Marsh had with the assembled media, as we refer to it. It's a couple of questions about the match in and of itself, but here's Jesse Marsh after the match.
Listen, really good World Cup, really good performance today, but a loss.
Yeah.
How do Canada get to the point where they can start winning these games?
Poof. I mean, I think we showed that in this tournament that we can win big games. You know, I mean, and since I've been here, we won big games at Copa America. We won big games since I've been here. I mean, before the tournament, if we would have said round of 16, I think we would have been pretty satisfied. And if we would have, and by the way, before today, if you would have said your team's going to play like that, right, I would have said, okay, there's a good chance we're going to win the match. Thought we totally controlled the number 7 team in the world in the first half. Total control. Total control. There was one team on the pitch, right? And then we weren't able to make the play. And even at the start of the second half, we were the aggressor. We were the ones in control of the match. We were the ones that looked more likely to score. And so they score a goal, and goals change games, and then, you know, they can sit back a little bit more. We have to find ways to push a little bit, and then it winds up being 2 and then a third at the end. But the way we pushed, the way we were in the match, the quality we showed, the overall impact in the match, we were better. We were better than the number 7 team in the world today.
Joe Callahan, Toronto Star. Jesse, just one quickly, which is Alphonso Davies' status and what the situation was with his injury today. And then if you don't mind, on the set piece for the first goal, there are 5 Moroccans in the box and 10 Canadians within 12 yards of Max. What happened there, the switch off?
No, so first with Alfonso, he didn't feel right yesterday in training, and we got an MRI, and it was clear. So the good news was that there was no injury, but his hamstring didn't feel right. And we were hoping that by the time this morning he woke up that he would feel better, but he didn't. And so we wanted to be cautious and make sure that we weren't risking anything. And obviously at the 60th minute when it's 1-0, it would have been great to have him in the match, or even at halftime, right? But we weren't able to have him healthy, and it killed him more than anyone. But I think it was the right decision to preserve him and his career and get him fully healthy. The set piece, look, they were really dangerous in a lot of those side free kicks in the near post zone. So we didn't want to leave that space open. And I think that they just audibled and played a ball back, and we didn't deal well with it. So it's a shame. It's a good finish. Also, I don't think the foul was necessary on the wing. I think Luke could have just stood him up, and there was no need to foul him in that situation, because it was almost like they weren't going to get themselves into the game unless they had a fortuitous situation like this. So we're still developing our overall understanding of the best games and how to win them, but we've won a fair share, right? And again, if I was really adamant that we needed to be at our best today, and I was really demanding of them to be brave with the ball, against the ball, to really make it hard on the opponent. And I wanted them to show that they believed that they could be better, and they did.
Jesse Marsh, after the loss to Morocco in Houston. Now, to Jesse Marsh's point, let's go into the first half numbers. Since I gave you the numbers over the full 90, here's your first half numbers. With 1/3 of the possession, 4 total shots compared to 1, 2 on target, 13 touches inside the opposition 18, had the 1 big chance, didn't convert. They had 72% pass completion rate, 4 yellow cards for Morocco in the first half, 2 for Canada, 5 corners compared to none. We went over the shots once again, 4-1, 1-0 off target, 1-0 off target, 2-1 on target. Had 1 shot blocked. All 4 of those shots were inside the box. 13 tackles compared to 7, and the rest of it was Morocco defending, 4-3 in picks, 1 block, 21-4 in clearances, 2 keeper saves compared to the 1 for Maxime Crépeau. And they won 32 of 59 duels in the first half. Once again, the 6 yellow cards in the first half, and that got peeled back. 2 yellows on 15 fouls committed by Canada in the first 45, and then 4 yellows on 6 fouls committed for Morocco. So you end up with Canada getting the loss, and then obviously the main talking point, as you heard in part of that Q&A, has to do with the Alphonso Davies situation. And our friends at One Soccer, as a part of their post-mortem, they did discuss this. And so the voices you'll hear in order: Andy Petrillo, who's hosting; our friend Amy Walsh from Footy Prime, who has a history with the Canadian women's national team. She has caps. And then our friend Gareth Wheeler, who's in the middle of it. So this is a part of that conversation involving the Alphonso Davies omission along the way.
That's where things just kind of went off the rails a little bit with the messaging around Davies' participation.
That was a misstep.
Yeah.
That's where Jesse Marsh got it wrong. When you're a player on the inside and you have to be guarded and you're not sure of what the messaging is today, what am I allowed to say, what can't I, whether it's tactics or a little bit of gamesmanship and shiny object with Alphonso Davies, who's clearly our best player, and you want to strike fear in the opponents, it's not done that way.
He's not Moise Bombito or Alfie Jones or any of the other injured players either. He is Alphonso Davies, the face of Canadian soccer right now. All you needed to do was be clear. All that the head coach of Canada had to say is we hope that Alphonso Davies plays. Not he's playing, he's a decoy. If it's about growing the sport in this country, the public is expecting to see Canada's best player play because the head coach has told them that he's going to be able to play. Just be clear in your communication. And my concern now, guys, Davies doesn't play here. When will we see him play for Canada next?
So that was the thoughts/concerns of our friends at One Soccer over this. I really don't have a problem with subterfuge. I really don't. And when you are in a knockout situation, coaches handle it different ways. Some coaches will sit there and it'll be like, he might not. And then you have the Alphonso Davies situation with Jesse Marsh. And so let me see how it was phrased. Let me do this. I want to see how it was phrased, because if Gareth is saying it one way, then that's just how it was addressed by Jesse Marsh. So I want to get the layout of how it was broken down. And so AP, June 27th. Alphonso Davies available to play when Canada begins the World Cup knockout rounds, Coach Jesse Marsh said Saturday. Marsh admitted this week he used his team captain as a decoy during group play, employing gamesmanship to compel Canada's opponents to game plan for someone who wasn't actually ready to return from his hamstring injury. I have zero issue with that. In any sport, we've seen it all the time. Stanley Cup playoffs, it is literally upper body injury, lower body injury, and then we find out after the fact that so-and-so had a broken bone and played with it. Zero issue in the group stage with Jesse Marsh, because you've got to get through the group to get to the knockouts. I have zero issue with a coach sitting there saying with one of your studs, A, B, C, D, and E, and it turns out being a decoy, because you don't want to give your opponents in group a leg up on you, pardon the pun, when it comes to trying to qualify to get out of the group and play in the knockouts in a World Cup. I have zero issue with this. None whatsoever. Jesse Marsh wanted to play that game. He's not the only coach that's done it. And frankly, fans of Canada sports should know this by now. Apply it to the Stanley Cup playoff. Legitimately, that's all you got to do. If you have, and I could name like 19 different coaches here. You know, Bob Hartley, Daryl Sutter, Mark Crawford, Glenn Sather. Who's been coaching in Winnipeg? And Ottawa, Toronto. Seriously, if Marty St. Louis, let's go Montreal here for a second with the run that they've been on. If Marty St. Louis, for the Montreal Canadiens, as they are in an Eastern Conference semifinal, is going to sit there and say, you know what, we're not going to have our big guns available to us at all. We're not going to have anyone available to us that is a big name, basically. If he had said, if Cole Caulfield was dinged up, if Cole Caulfield was dinged up and he was smashed pretty hard, and then if you're in an Eastern Conference semifinal and you sit there and you're going in game one, because this happened with Colorado, with the Avalanche in their Western Conference playoff activity. If you're Marty St. Louis in Montreal and you sit there and you say that Cole Caulfield is injured and unable to start this series and we don't know how long he's going to be out. If you are trying to win a series and you are a fan of the Rouge Blanc et Bleu and you end up with that coming out of your coach's mouth, what are you thinking coming out? You're thinking we're going to get killed. We have zero chance. We have no shot. And we're in serious trouble. Yuri Slafkovsky, Nick Suzuki, Jakub Dobesh, any of those folks. If you're a fan of the Canadiens and you're going into an Eastern Conference semi or you're going into an Eastern Conference final and you hear your head coach say off the top at the MD-1 or the game day skate or, lead, or even better, let's give a bigger runway. You've clinched an Eastern Conference semifinal berth. And then your post-game press conference, when you've clinched it, you've gotten out of your most recent series, and you're getting ready for an Eastern Conference semifinal. At the post-game press conference leading into the semifinal, you sit there and you go, yeah, Cole Caulfield, he's dinged up. He's got like a broken this or a broken that, and we're not going to have him available to us. What are you, Montreal Canadiens fan, going to be saying about this? You're going to be bleeping and cursing and sitting there going, damn it, I wish we had a chance here. So, but along those same lines, Marty St. Louis, if he withholds that information about Cole Caulfield going into an Eastern Conference semifinal, yet we're looking forward to taking on the team that's in front of us. We're looking forward to taking on the Buffalo Sabres in an Eastern Conference semifinal. We're really looking forward to it. And we're looking forward to having everybody contribute. Say something like that. Fans are still at 100. Team knows the difference, but once again, team no leaks. If you just sit there and you go, okay, we're heading into this series with Buffalo, and we're going to have everything going on, but then, Cole Caulfield, he kind of skates around a little bit before game number one. Just kind of shows up a little bit and he, messes around on the ice, does a cameo, goes back into the locker room. If I'm Marty St. Louis and I sit there and go, yeah, we're saving Cole for the series, you're still giving Buffalo something they have to prepare for in a 50-plus goal scorer. So for Jesse Marsh in group stage to sit there and use Alphonso Davies as a quote-unquote decoy, I have zero issue with this. You don't want to give anybody a leg up in a World Cup. You don't give anybody a leg up in an Eastern Conference. It doesn't matter. You don't want to have someone for a double negative and my mom to kill me. You don't want to have someone not prepare. You want them to prepare for every eventuality. If you pull Cole Caulfield out, you pull Jakob Dobisch out, you pull Alphonso Davies out, Maxime Crépeau out, and you sit there and you make an issue of it off the top, you're giving your opposition, in a group stage that you're trying to get out of, a reason not to prepare for that kind of an offense and that kind of a player. I have zero issue with this. So he admits that he had Alphonso Davies as a decoy in the group stage. Then Marsh at SoFi, getting ready for South Africa, round of 32. Davies made it clear he's expecting to be on the field in some capacity. Jesse Marsh, quote, now that we have Alphonso back and healthy, ready to perform, I think it's a big moment for the team, big boost for the team. See, this is you're in the knockouts. You say these kinds of things. Think in general, all the players that came into camp with little injuries are now really close to 100% ready to perform at the highest level and be at our best in matches. Marsh and Davies decided left back wouldn't rush through protocols to suit up after he injured his hamstring 3 times in the past 4 months, including the Champions League semi. Marsh still said publicly Davies was available for Canada's 2 most recent games, which he technically was, but that soft deception, according to AP copy, was no longer necessary. Jesse said at the time, for me to go tell our best player and a guy that's a huge piece of everything that we do that we have to wait was also painful, but we've done this in the best interest of Alphonso in his career and his health, so it's nice now that we can have a plan that leads to him being back on the pitch. So that was the conversation going into the South Africa match. And then Alphonso Davies, Joshua Clokey, who's been covering the team for The Athletic, in his article, Davies said it was his decision not to play in Canada's final World Cup game. Canada captain said during Friday's training session he felt something, in quotation marks, suggested he had not fully recovered from the hamstring injury he entered the World Cup with. Me and Jesse had a conversation. He asked if I feel 100%. I told him no, to be honest. And this is said in the mix zone after the match. Obviously, we want players on the pitch that are 100% to play the game and can 100% give everything. I felt like I wasn't there yet. So this is why we made the decision, or I made the decision, to sit down and give the players the opportunity to play that can give 100% to the country, end quote. 15 total minutes, was a substitute against South Africa. And then you heard Jesse discussing having him coming on for the final 30 minutes, wasn't ready. So that was your post game with Jesse Marsh, Joshua Clokey, and Fonzie saying, after he ran sprints at halftime, he never warmed up with subs. He's played once for Canada since March of 25. Torn ACL, multiple hamstring injuries. Davies says, quote, it's an injury where you can't take any risk. Obviously, with my history of hamstring injuries, I've had it 3 times back-to-back in the last 3-4 months. It's something that's very delicate, especially with my game. There's a lot of speed, a lot of running. So if a player is not 100% that has that speed, it's tough to give everything, end quote. Every time I play the game, I want to give my all and fully play this game with freedom and no injuries, but at this time it was tough. It was tough sitting there watching the game knowing I'm not 100%. So that was what was said by Davies in the mix zone, Joshua Clokey turning that for The Athletic yesterday. But I have zero issue. I have zero issue with a coach with subterfuge, especially in the tournament. And as I said, our friends up north should know this. And like I said, I will effort our friends from Footy Prime, whether it's Amy or Sharms or Craig Forrest, any of them, I will effort them as a bit of a post-mortem for Canada's coverage, and I will make a point to ask them about the subterfuge. Apparently, they've got an issue with it. I don't. Subterfuge ended up having folks preparing for folks that they didn't know that they didn't have to prepare for, but that's what you want. You're looking for any kind of an advantage in a game that's a knockout where you were a decided underdog going in. You were a plus 409 dog in that match. Morocco was on the minus side at a minus 118. 90-minute draw was a plus 229. Canada was on the front foot in that first 45 minutes, but they couldn't get anything into the net. And when you're trying to take those big swings and get a lead on a favorite and nothing's happening, then obviously with no goals on the board, you're in danger of having the inverse happen and you getting in trouble, and that's what happened second half. The set piece, the corner, great vision and a great audible. With everyone packed inside the 18, basically in line with the 6, and then seeing no one marked at the near elbow, and then shooting through traffic for the goal. It's a good ad lib if that was an ad lib by Morocco. But Morocco moves on, and Canada builds from here. You obviously heard Gareth Wheeler and our friends at One Soccer wonder when the next time it was going to be that you're going to have Alphonso Davies, regarded as the greatest player in Canadian history, playing for his country in a competition of that scope. So we will see. That was game number 1. Then the other game, Paraguay and France. Once again, you end up with a game of moments. And you end up with it once again taking a while for moments to turn into goals. And here is the one goal of the match, courtesy of our friends at Telemundo.
Allá está. Aquí está. Desde el punto penal, gol. ¡Gol! Señores, 10º gol en 6 partidos, los últimos que ha jugado, 1-0.
Y 19º en la historia de los mundiales para Kylian Mbappé, el 7º en esta copa. Lo esperó hasta último momento, lo esperó que se venciera Gil, que pensó en el remate cruzado, y Kylian lo ubicó con muchísima tranquilidad.
Mbappe's PK was the only goal of the match in a matchup of number 3 versus number 41. And so in these matchups, we go into the theme of the day, I guess. And it's going to be what you've got to do to win. And so it was the game plan, or at least the thought pattern of Gustavo Alfaro and of Paraguay, to be incredibly physical and try to upset France as much as possible in this match. It took them to the 70th minute, and it took to a PK for that goal to happen. Referred to as a feisty World Cup clash. Shocking no one, France had possession 3-1. XG in the game, 0.13 for Paraguay. 5 total shots compared to 15. 5 on target. 25 touches inside the opposition, 18 compared to 4. 2 big chances. Accurate passing, 510 passes and about 5, so 510 of basically 561. Passing at 90%. Paraguay completed 54% of their passes, completing 98 of them on the day. All 3 yellow cards went to France. 12 corners compared to 2. 15 total shots to 5. 6 off target compared to 4. 5 on target compared to none. 4 blocks compared to 1. 5 inside the 18 compared to 1. 10 outside the 18 compared to 1. 98 of 183. 98 of 183. That was Paraguay on the day, and a lot of that just had to do with trying to get the ball out of their own 18. 54 completions in their own half, 44 in France's half. No real surprise. 12 accurate long balls on the day at 22%. So they were 2 of 9 on the equivalency scale of long balls. So 12 of 54. Does that sound right? 2 of 9 to times 6. Yeah. 2 of 9 to 12. So 12 of 54 on long balls. 19 throws compared to 17. That was one of the few categories Paraguay had the lead. 25 touches compared to 4. No yellows. 24 fouls committed. 13 by Paraguay, 11 by France along the day. 56 out of 106 duels won by France on the afternoon, and Paraguay had more wins on the ground, 44 of 83. 17 of 23 in the air went to France. 29 tackles compared to 13, 14 picks compared to 10, 4 blocks compared to 1, 4 saves compared to none. Mikey Mignon did not have a busy day. 27 clearances for France compared to 21 defensively. But once again, in a match like this, of number 3 versus number 41, if you go toe-to-toe with them, with the style that you're used to being stylistically, it's going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly quick. You're going to do what you're going to do to ugly that game up. And you did exactly that. You uglied that game up. You absolutely did. And if that's what you thought you needed to do to try to get get and stay close, then you did for 70 minutes. Dominant and all those stats that I read doesn't mean a damn thing if you don't get the Duke. Doesn't mean a thing. And it should not be surprising that folks are going to do what they're going to try to do to either stay in games, get out of group, or advance in the knockouts. I said we talked about it in the first half hour with Canada. Frankly, most of the first hour with Canada, but it seems like our number one topic seems to be taking a half hour here on the weekend. You're going to do what you're going to do. If it's subterfuge, if it's stylistically, you're going to do what you're going to do to try and stay in a match against an opponent that is higher ranked than you. I know that we can get into the discussion about Cabo Verde, but what Cabo Verde does is they're sound defensively. They don't go against their type. They did not go against their type. Disciplined defensively, a hot keeper in moments. That was what Cabo Verde got. That was what they stuck to. Bubista stuck to his game plan. Alfaro in this matchup with Paraguay and France, we're going to ugly this up. We're going to muck it up. We're going to knock them off their game. And I think the tape is now out. The tape is now out on France. How are they going to handle themselves in matchups as they go in the knockouts? If a team is physical, if a team is going to try to knock them off their pins, if they're going to try to disrupt them in a bunch of different ways, whether it's a shot to the ribs or what have you. You're in a pile, no one can see. You sit there and you take your knuckle and you sit there and you hit them in the short ribs. How is France going to handle this going forward? Now that the rest of the planet and the rest of their bracket has seen what Paraguay was able to do to them, and you had that one moment that was a foul, that was a penalty, that was converted. Otherwise, shoot, they might still be playing. Although I don't think they would want to continue playing for all day and all night in Philly, considering conditions. But I think the book is now out. How can you, within your own DNA, add a little sandpaper and be frustrating to France to knock them off their game going forward? That's what you got to keep an eye on. As France comes out of one half of the bracket, they're obviously the big dog on that side. But now everybody else got to see what Paraguay did and should probably send a box of Gustavo Alfado's favorite cigars or wine or drink or whatever. They ought to send it to him because the book is now out. To that effect, on Atlanta Soccer Tonight last night, Jason was discussing this topic. And it was such a large topic in Jason's rundown that actually carried over from one segment to the next. So here was how Jason came back from starting the conversation. And he goes into his second segment to discuss said topic. So this was last night on Atlanta Soccer Tonight, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app.
There are some people who are upset about Paraguay's approach in their 1-0 loss to France. I don't think they had another choice if they wanted to try to win the game, which is all that matters here. Once you get to the knockouts of a World Cup, you're not trying to put on a show. You're not playing a video game. You're trying to win. And Paraguay could not play France straight up. They don't have the same level of talent. They went for it in the way that they could go for it. And look, they took France all the way down to a VAR-induced penalty. Gustavo Alfaro, the manager for Paraguay, he said if it wasn't for that penalty, they would not have beaten us. That's why they celebrated the way they did. That's why they ended up wasting time at the end. They know what it cost them. Interesting. Sergio Goycochea, the Argentine former national team goalkeeper who does media in Argentina and South America, he took a shot at Mbappe after the game and said that the showboating and cocky attitude while already winning is exactly what invites a physical response, which is not wrong. I think some of what Mbappe had said coming into it maybe was part of this, and just the fact that you had to try to get under his skin. Full credit to Mbappe for not letting it get under his skin. And again, this goes to another hypocritical kind of thing. Mbappe talked some trash about the way that Paraguay chose to play, which is silly because of some of the things that Mbappe has said about South American football and just in general. And then he acted out after some of this happened. But you can't do the behavior and then act out when somebody showboats and what have you. That's what happens in these games. And I think we get a little too caught up in trying to appeal to the moral side of it when it's a game and somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. For me, the read on this game is it's a clash of culture. Paraguay competed as hard as they possibly could and as well as they possibly could. Olise, Dembele didn't do anything in this game. Mbappe didn't do much. That's impressive. France put 3 goals past Senegal, past Iraq, past Norway, and past Sweden. Sweden in the last round thought they could play straight up with France. Sweden has a good attack, a much better attack than Paraguay. Sweden had 1 big chance. France had 7. In this game tonight, France had 1 big chance. You have to give Paraguay credit for that. And yes, the physicality is part of it.
So that's Jason's on Atlanta Soccer Tonight last night. So keep an eye out tonight for Atlanta Soccer Tonight. AST every single day that there is soccer going on. So it's another 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks and another couple days of AST on 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app. And so tonight, there'll be another edition of it. Day 24. Day 24 of 37. Day 37 will be the final, and then obviously we might carry it to like day 40 and such. But SDH AM every single day during the World Cup. Atlanta Soccer Tonight every single day during the World Cup on the three-dimensional experience that is 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, whether it is 92.9 The Game, 92.9thegame.com, Odyssey app, 92.9 The Game YouTube channel, or a combination of all of them. So it'll be that was your That was your AST flashback to yesterday. And it is, once again, keeping an eye on things. And I would also recommend, if you don't have the opportunity to listen to it live, and I know that we only play like a 2 or 3 minute snippet, that if you have the chance, go back and listen to the show in its entirety because of everything that Jason brings to the table. Like I said, that was a small snippet of a larger conversation that went from the A block into the B block, the first block of his show into the second block, because it was that much space to address what was going on. And that's why we have SDH AM go the length that we do. It is 2 hours-ish, but it is open-ended. So we can have these discussions and go at length, and we can sit there and have all these topics broken down the way that we do. So AST tonight, and when the time is published, the time will be published, and we will let you know. But yeah, AST tonight, 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app, 92.9 The Game YouTube channel, and then there are some nights when it starts at 10 that hour number 2 turns into stoppage time on the 92.9 The Game YouTube channel. So over the air, YouTube app, and then it goes to YouTube. So it's that full 3-dimensional experience that has been going on here, covering the World Cup. All right. It is hour number 2, which means one thing. It's time for the hydration break, brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. 2 locations. It is Johns Creek and on Cumberland Parkway, right at Cumberland Parkway and Cobb Parkway, right there in the old Acres Mill area. And we were there a couple weeks ago and can't thank them enough for their hospitality and letting us come and hang out for our Saturday morning show. But if you are looking for a large selection, and I'm not kidding, I'm not underselling it, large selection of stuff to help you out for your daily, your parties, all points in between, local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. Thanks for being great partners and friends with us here starting in 2026. Local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. Everybody hydrate. Rock and roll. All right. Now that we are at least somewhat properly hydrated, now it is an opportunity for us to get into what's going on today. And, of course, I look over here at the Big 55, and they were celebrating the sesquicentennial of this here country yesterday, considering that was what July 4th was about. And there is now, I'm looking at a lower third, the lower graphic, like you see there. That would be, so this is actually a lower third. So that's a lower third font. So that would be a lower third. The lower third that I'm seeing on the Big 55 as I'm watching the Weather Channel, quote, storms and heavy downpours possible for World Cup match. That's not necessarily a good sign. So with the matches that are going on today, as we analyze what's going on. So if we were to look at the start times, 4 o'clock this afternoon in the Meadowlands with Brazil and Norway. Let's go ahead and do the weather prognostications according to our friends at the channel that does weather. So if we search for a location, East Rutherford, New Jersey, that is where we don't want to asterisk it yet. So the daily forecast, they are a 50-50 chance for PM thunderstorms. High of 85, winds from the southeast at 9. So if we go hourly, and tomorrow's not any better, it's a 90% chance of thunderstorms, but they're not playing tomorrow that I know of. But they are under a flood watch. Flood watch from noon until 6 o'clock Tuesday morning. So if we go and look at how things are playing out right now, it looks like it's going to be okay. If you go East Rutherford, New Jersey, and search for the channel that does weather, their hourly forecast has a high of 83 in that hour. Cloudy and 83 in the 3 o'clock hour when they're warming up. mostly cloudy, so it looks like peaks of sunshine, perhaps, and a 17% chance of weather in the 4 o'clock hour when the match is supposed to start. Humidity at 69%. That's nice. So 83, 69% humidity, winds out of the southeast at 9. So it is an offshore flow. I'm trying to think of how the building. So if it gets into the building, it probably gets in a bit of a swirl, so it could cause some issues for some keepers who might want to try to get some air under the ball. So if you're going from, if I remember correctly, if you're going from right to left, the wind would be at your back, but it looks like it's going to be a bit of a crosswind. 5 o'clock hour might be where the fun starts. So second half, 1/3 chance isolated T-storms, and the temperature is 81 with a 73% humidity, and the winds go east-southeast at 8. And then you get into worse weather as you go. Worse weather, the night goes along. 5 o'clock is when it starts, and then once again, this flood watch that they're talking about carries it through Tuesday. So the weather gets worse, chances increase. 6 p.m. hour, 50-50. 7 o'clock, 50-50 for scattered thunderstorms. Then 8 o'clock, forget it. 8 o'clock the rest of the night and all day on Monday. So get the game in, people. That's what it looks like, according to our friends at the channel that does weather. So maybe the second half might be a bit of an adventure, but we'll find out. And since we're on that topic, remember the topic yesterday where everybody was like, oh, we got to change the start time in Mexico City. And then you didn't. Because as I was looking at it, the weather was getting better as the day was going along. So, Mexico City for tonight, by the way. Early on, cloudy, mostly cloudy, scattered thunderstorms. Then it's supposed to be flat out raining. So this one could be adventurous. 7 o'clock hour when they're warming up. 69% chance of thunderstorms. That's very nice. Temp is 64, 75% humidity. 7-mile-an-hour winds from the east-northeast. Rain in the 8 o'clock hour at 62%. Showers in the 9 o'clock hour, 50-50. A few showers in the 10 o'clock hour at 34%. And then it goes away. Temps in the 60s, so that won't be the problem. But the weather in the lead-up looks like it might be worse in Mexico City, because yesterday looked like the weather was going to be worse now and better later. Now it's gone back to being worse later and being what it is now. Better now, worse later. It's gone back to the original. So if you are going to be partaking in the games today, you might have a backup plan. Might go out and do some work. They go into a weather delay, go run some errands, get that done. Mexico City might be a bit of an adventure. Brazil and Norway, by the by. Right now, juice boxes in this one. Brazil favored at a -125, draws a +275. Norway is a +375 on the board. So then when you get into this particular matchup, which in and of itself, once again, the next 5 matchups in a row are going to be flat out nuts. Go by the numbers here and break down what this is going to look like. So no, I don't want the daily update for July 1st. I want the daily update for today, people. I just want my daily update. That's all I want. Just my daily update for today. I don't think I'm asking for much. So daily update for the 5th of July. Norway's scored 10 goals, double their previous high tally. Brazil's going to be looking to end a run of 6 successive defeats against European sides in knockout matches. So that is what is staring them down today by the numbers. Ismail Elfath, by the way, is the man in the middle for this one. Corey Parker, Kyle Atkins, your ARs. Saeed Martinez from Honduras is your fourth. The reserve AR is Walter Lopez from Honduras. VAR is Tatiana Guzman from Nicaragua. AVAR is Leodon Gonzalez from Uruguay. Your support VAR, who will be in the 3-shot and be in the graphic, Carlos del Cerro Grande from Spain. Nations have squared off on one previous occasion. Norway won 2-1 comeback victory in the group stage 1998. Seleção extended their unbeaten streak on U.S. soil to 11 matches with the win over Japan. Casemiro once again drew them even in the 56th. Martinelli gets the stoppage time winner at 90+5 in Houston. Norway got their first win ever in the World Cup, beating Ivory Coast 2-1 in Dallas in the knockouts. Erling Haaland once again. Death taxes Haaland. Fifth strike of the competition, Antonio Nusa became the country's youngest ever goal scorer with the first one. De Landslaget claimed the second spot in Group I, behind France and ahead of both Senegal and Iraq. All previous meetings, 2 wins, true draws for Norway. Goals scored, they're +3 in the goal difference. Last meeting, by the way, was August 16th of 2006 in a friendly at Ullevål Stadion in Oslo, Norway. Norway unbeaten in the side's 4 encounters. Brazil have clean sheets and have won 3 of their last 4 against European opposition. Brazil have come off their second best in each of the last 6 knockout showdowns against UEFA outfits at the tournament. Most recent victory was 2002 when they beat Germany 2-0. They prevailed in the round of 16 at each of the last 8 editions of the competition. Last time they came unstuck at this stage was 1990 when they lost to Argentina 1-0. Brazil on 11-match unbeaten string in World Cup fixtures on U.S. soil, winning 8, and they have drawn 3. The Canarinha have breached the opposition's backline 13 of their last 14 outings. So they've scored 13 matches of their last 14. 5-time winners top the tournament's all-time goal charts at 246. Stella Solbakken with the win over Cote d'Ivoire. Get that first ever win in World Cup history in the knockouts. Trying to get into the quarterfinals for the first time. Norway tasted defeat just twice in their last 20 matches, 15 wins and 3 draws along the way. 10 goals so far here in North America, twice as much as they did in 98. 5 goals for Holland in 3 matches. Scored in each of his last 13 competitive encounters for Norway, 25 goals in his last 13 matches. 60 times in his last 53 against 26 different teams, looking to make it 27. Gabriel and Gabriel Martinelli shared a dressing room with Martin Odegaard once again with Arsenal. They've done that since 21. Igor Thiago, Christopher Ayer, and they are in Brentford. Carlo Ancelotti, 26 times capped by his country. Last time he played was the 1-1 draw with Norway in Genoa, November 13th of 1991. Salah Stolbakken was a member of the squad in the 98 World Cup, didn't get off the bench in the group stage triumph over Brazil. He did come on as a substitute in the friendly a year earlier. So that is your rundown of that particular matchup today. And then that leads us to the nightcap. And it might be a bit of a while. It might be a while. It might be a while. Might be a while. So Mexico and England at the Azteca. Mexico trying to equal their best ever World Cup performance, reaching the quarters. Did that in 1970 and 1986. England have won 6 of their last 8 round of 16 ties in the competition. So when you go digging into this matchup, then we'll hear from Thomas Tuchel coming up in a sec. Once again, slated for 8 o'clock. Alireza Fagani from Australia is the man in the middle. ARs, George Lacrindis and Andrew Lindsay. Morocco's Jalal Jayed is your 4th. Reserve AR is Zakaria Brinsi, also from Morocco. VAR Nicolas Gallo from Colombia. AVAR is Juan Lara from Chile, and your support VAR, who will be in the 3-shot and the graphic, is Juan Soto from Venezuela. England is going back to Mexico City, first time in 40 years. Once again, a lot of stuff has been made about what happened 40 years ago. Second meeting in the World Cup, Bobby Charlton, Roger Hunt scored in the group stage in 1966. We know what happened with Harry Kane last time out, getting the win and the comeback, getting the brace and the comeback here in Atlanta. Across 10 meetings, England have a 7-2 advantage with 1 draw. Mexico unbeaten in the team's 3 previous in Mexico City. Most recently, a 1-0 win in a June 1985 friendly in which Javier Aguirre played the full 90 minutes. Mexico have lost only 3 of their last 10 against European teams in the World Cup. Only triumph in knockout ties against European opponents was back in 1986 in the round of 16 against Bulgaria. Mexico aiming to equal their best ever FIFA World Cup performance, sealing a place in the quarters, once again 1970, 1986. They've won in their last 5 matches in the World Cup, longest winning streak of the competition, yet has conceded a goal in the World Cup this year. Could become only the second team to start a World Cup campaign with 5 successive wins, no goals conceded. Last to do that was Italy, 1990. 7 wins, 2 draws in their last 9 FIFA World Cup matches on home soil. Matches settled by a PK shootout are counted as draws. North Americans have kept clean sheets in the last 7 of those fixtures. Mexico, 8 goals in the current tournament. Highest ever tally achieved back in 98. They haven't conceded a first-half goal in any of their last 15 World Cup matches. Keep an eye on that. Julian Quiñones has now scored in all but one of his side's 4 matches in the World Cup this year. The second Mexican player to notch 3 goals in a single edition. Last was Luis Hernandez back in 1998. England unbeaten in 7 matches against CONCACAF teams, 4 wins and 3 draws since the 1-0 defeat by the USA in the 1950 group stage. Never met a CONCACAF team in a knockout before. Lost only 1 of their last 9 in the World Cup, 6 wins and 2 draws. They've won 6 of their last 8 round of 16. Harry Kane has 13 goals in 15 appearances in the World Cup, 7 of those in his last 6. Raul Jimenez, once again dating back to his history playing in England with Wolves and Fulham. He's going back to Wolves in the Championship next year. Edson Alvarez played for West Ham in the Premier League for 2 seasons, and that sets up this matchup. So then Thomas Tuchel was asked, yes, she is, Abby, going to be interesting today. Thomas Tuchel was asked the variety of questions that head coaches are asked in these situations. And yes, part of it had to do with revenge. Tuchel wasn't biting. Here's his conversation, some of his conversation that he had with the assembled media in the MD-1.
It's even nicer than I expected. It just catches you straight away once we landed here and saw the excitement and saw the emotions and the commitment of all people for the World Cup. Then I felt straight away that this will be a proper World Cup match tomorrow. We knew it before. We are in an iconic place, iconic stadium, a massive game, knockout game against Mexico in Azteca. It's just an iconic match and a big stage, and we feel it. People were very friendly, very respectful, very emotional. Of course, they will support their home team tomorrow. That's absolutely normal. We had an amazing training facility today, beautiful environment, very calm, on highest level, and so players are kind of adapted. You know about the situation. We spoke about it. Yeah, we will take care of what needs to take care of, and we need a strong performance, and I think we will have one.
Go over here on the right-hand side.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Coach Carlos Daniel Salgado from TV Azteca. 40 years ago, England played here, and you went through a difficult chapter in your history when they lost against Argentina. Yeah. And that's something that the world of football hasn't forgotten. Is that part of the speech? Is that something that motivates the players and yourself?
Well, I think like everyone everyone remembers the goal, and everyone, of course, it's an iconic goal, 2 iconic goals in the stadium, in the huge disadvantage for the English team, and of course this is painful and still hurts. But we are not here for revenge. It doesn't make sense. It's the same stadium. It's not the same opponent, and even then it doesn't make sense. We are here to write our own chapters. The team is ready, we are in good spirits, and we're ready to go for tomorrow.
Revenge! No. Might be on folks' minds, but it is not on Thomas Tuchel's mind. No, there is no shaking of the fist outwardly. There's no revenge, none of that. At least not in the public conversations anyway, in the sound bites. So that is what you're staring at with challenging weather. And yes, Abby agrees. Mother Nature is going to be interesting today. So if you are out running your errands in whatever part of the planet that you are on, once again, be prepared. Mother Nature has been somewhat perturbed last little bit. I was coming back from Athens last night, and you get your notifications about things going on and all this kind of stuff. And then you are checking in on things, and you're like, oh, so this is what's going on in this particular part of the planet. And it's not good. And so I was kind of keeping tabs on everything last night in particular parts of the planet. And so that was seeing Mother Nature and her perturbed self was kind of part of what we were keeping an eye on yesterday. So it has made its way this way today, and so keeping an eye on it. And whatever part of the planet you are on, we humbly ask that you are prepared for these situations. Because if it's supposed to be nasty, just be ready for it. It was loud and it was nasty, and it was a combination of both fireworks and thunderstorms last night. And it was a bit of a sidebar there that it was another year for the rowdy man not to enjoy fireworks last night. And the part of the planet that we live on, there is a business next to the subdivision. And they're usually busy 2 days out of the week. And when it is this particular time of year, there are folks that have very loud explosive devices, or devices that are very loud once they explode is probably the best way to phrase it, that make a lot of noise, and the animals in this particular neighborhood are not fans of those particular explosions when they happen. And the rowdy man, as much as he is the lead guardian and the man that never leaves his post, he is not a fan of those explosive devices. And with a rescue dog being, a rescue dog, you don't know his history. And it is one of those things where, and I know that he is not the only one that is this way. I mean, I've saw pictures last night on social media of a lot of our friends who have animals of their own. And this time of year, they're like, nope, so-and-so didn't like it. And I wish we knew our animals' histories. I really wish we did. We have always adopted. We adopt, don't shop. And you don't know your adoptee's history going in. To give you an example, when we adopted Rowdy, they said he was probably 2 or 3. He was more like 4 or 5 because he got very gray very quickly in his muzzle. And when it comes to thunderstorms or fireworks or anything, he wants to go hide. I think that now that he is a lot older, he is becoming more deaf, so he doesn't hear it as much. But last night here in SDH HQ in our area, it was very, very loud. He wanted nothing to do with it, and he literally he will start shaking, just incredibly so. And we have kind of determined that the best way to handle that with Rowdy is to basically you bring him in close, and we have a blanket. We put the blanket over him, and then then he gets close to his humans, and then he kind of calms down. But you've really got to hold him because he shakes so violently. We are under the impression because of that leading up to his capture and then adoption by us, when he left his previous home under whatever circumstance, he was outside a lot, was subjected to the elements a lot, because they thought that he ate rocks and things, and that's why his teeth were in such bad shape. And with that, it's very, very, he's very, very skittish, doesn't even begin to say it, but doesn't like thunderstorms, doesn't like all that kind of stuff. So, it's just, trying to make sure that where someone's coming from in these kinds of cases. So in this weather, just take care of yourselves, take care of your pets, make sure that you are as locked in as possible, because today's matches might be a little long in the tooth. But along that line, just keep track of everybody under your roof and make sure that you're going to be okay. Make sure that they're going to be okay too. So that's your public service announcement for the morning. All right, with those two matches that are happening today at some point, we'll go ahead and say some point. That brings us one match day closer to Monday Night Football in Seattle at Lumen with the 12s, and it is an opportunity for the U.S. to revenge what happened here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium a couple of months ago. No, that's not being looked at the way that it's being looked at. But anyway, Tyler Adams and Falarin Balogun were in front of the media, assembled media, out in Irvine, California. And here is part of their conversations that they had with the assembled media about getting ready for the match. Tyler Adams is asked about the match itself, and then he's asked about navigating it when you're down to 10 men. So here is some sound from Tyler Adams leading into the matchup against Belgium coming up here in a little over a day.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. Obviously, they have so much quality all over the field. That being said, we have a belief that we have a lot of quality all over the field as well. So we think it's going to be a great duel, but we obviously have to manage situations in certain parts of the field, win our duels, and be competitive. And ultimately, that can hopefully lead to a win. Yeah, I think in a sense, I think for a lot of those players on the field, I don't want to say it felt like deja vu, but I know we went through a Copa America situation where we went down a man, and it felt like we had been in that experience before, and we knew what to do and we knew how to rally. Whereas I think in Copa America, when that happened and you're already winning 1-0, things changed really quickly and we kind of crumbled a little bit. Whereas in this situation, you saw the relentlessness of the team, the commitment from the team, the guys that came off the bench, the energy that they brought to help us stay in it. And then obviously you need a few moments of brilliance in those kinds of games. Malik to be able to score that goal that he scored and give us a 2-0 lead instead of a 1-0 lead gave us that extra belief.
Nothing like a flyover by a plane when you're trying to deliver a soundbite in a press conference. Tyler Adams breaking down the past a little bit and looking toward the matchup against Belgium on Monday Night Football at Lumen, otherwise known as Seattle Stadium. And we will have that breakdown once again. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Bart Keeler set to join us from the Soccer for US POD. And then obviously we'll break it down for the Power Hour on Tuesday, 8 to 9, before we head in for Argentina and Egypt at Mercedes-Benz, a.k.a. Atlanta Stadium, for another couple of weeks. Once again, brought to us by our friends at US Soccer and Veritone. And then it was interesting. Falarin Balogun stepped up to the microphone. And he was as open and honest as you could be in a situation like this, addressing the red and how the team worked forward. So once again, courtesy of our friends at US Soccer and Veritone, we get to hear from Falarin Balogun about that event.
Yeah, I think it was, for me, it's important for me to say, obviously, first and foremost, it was totally unintentional, which I'm sure a lot of people know. But, I think the choice of the referee was, of course, his choice, but I don't think it was the correct call. I think a yellow card would have been fair, just due to it not being intentional, and also, there's not many places I can place my foot in such a scenario. But, I think it's happened, and it's something I have to accept and just move forward from. Yeah, just a ton of emotion. It's difficult, to see red at any time, but especially now, in such a high pressure tournament, such a high pressure situation, and there was many emotions. But for me, the most important thing was just trying to stay calm. I think I didn't want to react out of emotion, out of anger, and I had to just accept that the decision was made, whether I agreed with it or not, and just try to also think about how I can help moving forward.
Who's navigating these flyovers in Irvine, California, while the U.S. soccer team is trying to deliver sound bites? If it's if it's someone who doesn't want the sound to get out, they didn't do a bad job. You end up overmodulating some of the sound, making it a little difficult to kind of sit there and ride the gain. But yeah, that was Flair and Balogun, courtesy once again U.S. Soccer and Baritone, and addressing the red card. So we'll see what happens, probably with Ricardo Pepi. So we'll see what happens with Pepi up top, once again getting ready for Belgium, Monday Night Football, 8 o'clock kick in Seattle. Time for the 12s to rage, and I imagine that they will. And like I said, if you know a seismologist that is in that part of the planet, I would recommend you find them, so that way you can get their intel on what's going on. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis. FNTZ.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It helps you, helps us, and helps them out with all the things when it comes to their day-to-day operation. Fanatis, you get BN, and I mean all the BNs. WAFCON coming up in about a month. You get their European competitions. You get the Turkish League, the Polish League, the French League. You get Libertadores. You get Sudamericana. You get everything Middle East, Northern Africa, ties to Tigo Sports, ties to CATV. You get TSA out of Argentina with their World Cup coverage. You get CDO Plus out of Chile. You get TVV out of Venezuela. But it's an add-on, and if you don't want to add it on, and if you have a certain cable system, public service announcement, it's there with the Hispanic package. You can already watch TVV. It's already on there. So you have that. You got Liga 1, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You have all of that, all the A and B divisions that are attached to a lot of the countries in South America. True sickos and hardcores delight. Fanatis, FNTZ.co/soccer down here. So today, round of 16s on Big FOX at 4 and 8. Same on Telemundo, 4 and 8. ESPN Plus has the Miami FC hosting Birmingham Legion at 7 o'clock. Fox ONE has both matches of the round of 16, as does Peacock. CBS Sports Network has the NWSL, Chicago and Utah at 5. ESPN coming up in 90 minutes, Boston Legacy and Bay. On the Plus, it is also Boston Legacy and Bay, and then the Northern Super League at 2 o'clock with Ottawa and Calgary. Victory Plus tonight has the NWSL with Portland and Racing Louisville. And that breaks it all down for you there as to what to watch, how to watch it, and doing so with our friends at Fanatis, FNTZ.co/soccer down here. Now, the gossip, rumor, and innuendo while we're cruising. Let you know what's going on. Tuchel's urging England, and these are headlines. Brazil deny an anti-Holland plan for a World Cup tie. Anti-Holland plan. Well, I mean, you're probably going to bracket him or try to make sure that the supply lines are cut off to him one of two ways. If you're confident in your back line, then you're going to bracket him. If you're more confident on how you can attack on the ground, you're going to try to cut off all the supply lines so he doesn't get anything, and you're going to make sure that they're not going to beat you over the top so Holland can get his. And urging England, Tuchel urging England to avoid stress in Mexico. Good luck. That's all I'm saying. Good luck on that. But once again, absolutely kudos to the fans from Mexico who were outside the double perimeter and playing instruments and making noise and launching fireworks. And it was up into the air. It wasn't like an Angel City situation. So, they're doing what they're doing. No real surprise. No real surprise at all. Good on you. So here is the big names that are being bandied about. Manchester City have issued a hands-off warning involving Ruben Diaz. Juve open to exits of multiple key players, obviously having to do with making sure that they are even Steven on FFP. Manchester City rejected inquiries from various clubs for Ruben Diaz, deeming him unavailable for transfer, according to Team Talk. Real Madrid, Barca, Chelsea have all reportedly explored the possibility of signing him. City have issued the same clear message each time. He's not moving. Madrid have turned their attention to Inter Milan's Alessandro Bastoni and Dortmund's Nico Schlotterbeck. Juve not actively offloading their big names, but could be willing to let them leave, according to Tuttosport. They want €50 million for Kefren Turam, interest from PSG, Sunderland, Forest, Newcastle, Galatasaray, and Fenerbahce. Bayern directly approached the entourage of centre-back Bremer, who Juve would allow to leave for 45 and €50 million. No offers yet for Cambiasso. Como withdrawing, still interest from Barca and Inter. Manchester City reached the agreement with Leicester to sign 16-year-old winger Jeremy Manga, according to David Ornstein et al. At The Athletic. £10 million, $2.5 million in add-ons, as well as a future sell-on clause. Arsenal was interested, with Drew believing the evaluation was too high. Manga has also previously received attention from big clubs like Real Madrid and Chelsea. Enzo Maresca is behind the current drive to sign him after working with him in 23-24 at Leicester. Newcastle preparing an official opening for Freiburg and Swiss midfielder Johan Manzambi, according to Fabrizio Romano. Sending it soon. Proposal to follow after initial contacts made over recent days. 20-year-old has made an impact at the World Cup 3+2 despite not starting. Atleti and Sporting in constant contact regarding Martin Hjulmand. Valuations differing by €5 million plus some bonuses, according to Matteo Moretto. Matteo Moretto is one of those necessary follows in this time of year. Invisible Canvas S2V is getting blocked and reported on as a bot. Can you give us more information? Yeah, it's a bot. And it's a viewer solicitation bot. So solicitation bot. 23 characters submitted. There we go. So Visible Canvas, you're on the clock. So Moretto is saying that the observation and valuations between Atleti and Sporting are €5 million apart. Intention to get closer completing a deal for the 27-year-old. Hjulmand already has an agreement in place with Atleti, having been linked to them for some time. Football transfers. Bruno Guimaraes has concerns about Newcastle's long-term ambitions amid interest from Arsenal. Sorry, Alex. Sky Italia, Como are not giving up on Trevor Chalobah. Chelsea, despite competition from Internazionale, they're offering 30 plus 5 in euros. Besiktas have agreed on a €20 million deal with Arsenal for Lando Trossard. That's from Ornstein et al. At The Athletic. Leipzig wants €60 million for Castello Luqueba, despite his €80 million release clause, and they're interested in signing Burnley's Maxime Esteve as a replacement. That's from Philip Heinz. Al Hilal pushing to sign Marc Casado from Barcelona. Competition from AC Milan. While Atleti are no longer certain about signing him. That's from Marca. Nicola Schira, Genoa's Brooke Norton-Cuffy, and Fiorentina's Dodo are among Napoli's candidates to be Giovanni Di Lorenzo's backup Fabrizio Romano again. Brighton joined Napoli and Cagliari in the race to sign 18-year-old Bayer Leverkusen center back Andrea Natali. Tyreek George, this trickled out yesterday, joining Everton from Chelsea on a long-term deal worth the fixed £18 million, £6 million in add-ons, and 15% of the funds from his next move. So fixed, add-ons, and a sell-on. Good business by Chelsea. Heinz also, RB Leipzig and AZ Alkmaar are discussing attacking midfielder Sven Meinens, but haven't had an offer rejected. They also haven't had an offer accepted. Nicola Schira, Lazio, and Roma have shown interest in Sassuolo striker Andrea Pinamonti. Football Insider, Dortmund, Cologne, and PSV Eindhoven are interested in signing Spurs winger Mikey Moore on loan. Heinz also, talks between Leipzig and Brighton regarding Brian Gruda are ongoing, but they haven't been able to agree on a model. And Nicola Schira, once again, Besiktas, Hull, and a Saudi Pro League club are interested in Napoli keeper Vanja Milinkovic-Savic. That is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo for the morning. And we will continue to keep an eye on all of those. Javier Aguirre apparently is ignoring Mexico's the Aztecas' altitude advantage. And according to Tom Hamilton, Aguirre, once again, at 7,220 feet. Aguirre said at his MD-1, English players, historically speaking, are pretty nimble and fast. They have major players who play both inside and outside the country, so they're powerful. Physically speaking, they have great players. I remember ever since Southgate, their style has changed. Tuchel has kept that going with his own nuances and ideas, and they play in two different ways. In the past, they were really fast. They caused trouble with long, wide passes, second balls, and long transitions. Yes, they do that today, but they move to something different if it's not working. As for the altitude, I don't focus on that. It's 11v11. Ref is there. I don't think about things like that. Both going to try and score in each other's nets. Other potential distractions with YouTuber Steven D. Leonardis sending the team Rolex watches after he bet on Mexico to beat Ecuador in the previous round. They were favored. Doesn't seem like D. Leonardis would have made a whole lot of money, enough to especially to buy the whole team Rolexes. Quoting the Mexican FA, by mutual agreement, our players decided to return to the content creator the watches he'd gifted them on his own initiative. When asked whether both incidents distracted the team, Aguirre says, "You know who I am. I'm practical, I'm authentic, so everything comes naturally to me. Both of those topics I took naturally. Those things aren't planned. I wasn't looking for attention. Both things were sorted out. You can rest assured those things are permutating through the group. They're prepared, strong, and ready to play a good match tomorrow. Those things can happen," and went unnoticed by the players. And there is a discussion about whether beetroot juice could be a remedy to altitude. All right, so beetroot juice and altitude. This is apparently now trickling through as well. If I could spell altitude, I think we'd be okay. I don't want to play the video itself, but I'm just going to go beetroot juice and altitude search. Ah, okay, so here's why. Health benefits and how much is too much. Betalanes, which improve a person's health. So good nutritional profile. Well, duh. Let's see. Improving blood pressure. 2019 study, researchers gave participants 70 milliliters of either beetroot juice or a nitrate-depleted placebo. Reducing inflammation, preventing anemia, and protecting the liver. Boosting athletic performance. Okay, here we go. Certain compounds, and this is from our friends at Medical News Today. I feel like we need a trumpet or something. Certain compounds in beetroot juice, such as nitrates and betalanes, may improve athletic performance. 2018 study looked at the effects of betalane on 28 trained male cyclists. They either got 100 milligrams of a concentrate or placebo. Compared to the placebo group, the beetroot concentrate group had higher exercise efficiency and increased blood flow. 2024 mini review Some researchers suggest beetroot juice may be more effective than nitrate salts at enhancing exercise-related outcomes. Preventing cancer, improving cognitive function, beetroot dosages, side effects. And yeah, the side effect, if you're a male, it would be what you think. And so everyone is sitting there saying that, yes, beetroot juice could be a something that could improve your health conditions. So apparently beetroot juice might be considered to help out when you're at the Azteca. So we'll find out, and we'll see if that is in fact what they give them for hydration breaks and things like that. So yeah, why not? Why not? Why not, the man said. So that's your so that's a bit of your tour around the planet. We'll take another tour before we get out of here, but I do want to discuss what happened with the twos last night. And with the twos, it was a big win for them. They're at home right now, and they're home for most of July. So if you're near the Turner Soccer Complex at UGA, I would ask that you go. Decent crowd last night considering the conditions. 97 degrees when you landed, 103 with your heat index. Went down about 10 degrees in the second half with your hydration break, where it was 87 and 93. But still, it was a thick evening in Athens. Atlanta United 2 taking on Toronto FC 2 in a big matchup in the Eastern Conference in a battle of 8 versus 10 going in. And you had a moment, 34th minute for Atlanta United 2. Here is said moment, courtesy of us, Daniel Chica, the benefactor. Hydration break over. Dominic Chong-Qui now as we get ready to turn the 34th minute. Left hand in the air. Near side touch. Goes long throw inside the 18, looking toward the penalty spot. Flick header once and twice and in. Daniel Chica, the benefactor. Flick header once, flick header twice. Chica, past Di Rosario, goal on the board for the twos. Flick header that time by Matthew Sinanu off of the throw, throwing it into the tall timber. DCQ gives to Sinanu. Sinanu with the flick header found Daniel Chica. And so Daniel Chica with the goal on the board for the twos and a 1-0 lead for the home side. Chica's second of the season. And that would be the only goal of the match. And Atlanta United 2 would hang on and get the win 1-0 over Toronto FC 2, a team that they have never lost to, by the way. They're 6-0-1 all time against Toronto FC 2. 6 days' time, they're going to go back at it, and they're going to take on Inter Miami CF2 next time through. So the lineup for Atlanta United 2 in the matchup. 3-4-2-1. Jono Ransom in net wearing the captain's armband. It was 4-2-3-1, sorry. It's Dominic Chong-Qui. It was Cisse, Sinanu, and Chica at the back. Chica, obviously, your highest graded talent at an 8.3 with the goal. Then the two in front of them, Hardinas and Adrian Gill. Then your midfield attack, it was Dunbar, Ignacio Suarez, Corey, and Moises Tablante, who gave you 88 minutes, and then Arif Kovac up top, who was bracketed all night long. And I want to go over some of the defensive numbers in this matchup as Atlanta United 2 got the win. So Matthew Sinanu, by the way, 90 minutes, 74-78 passing, got the assist on the goal. One of the assists on the goal. One chance created, 8 defensive contributions, 86 touches, 4 passes into the final third, 6 of 9 on his long balls. 2 tackles, 3 clears, 1 headed clearance, 3 picks, 3 recoveries, and 3 of 6 on his duels. 2 of 3 on the ground, 1 of 3 in the air. So that was Matthew Sinanu's night. Punched an 8. Then Daniel Chica took 4 shots, had the most touches at 94 on the night. 78 of 86 passing at 91%. 3 defensive contributions, 1 big chance missed, 5 touches inside the opponent's 18. 12 passes into the final third, 13 of 20 on long balls for Daniel Chica. 3 defensive contributions, 2 tackles, a clear, 6 recoveries, and 2 duels on the ground on the night. Then it was Mohamed Cisse played the full 90, 61 of 66 passing at 92%. 6 defensive contributions, 6 passes into the final third, 8 of 12 on long balls. 3 tackles, 1 cleared off the line, 2 blocks, a clear, a headed clearance, 4 recoveries, 1 dribble passed, and it was 4 of 8 on his duels. Dominic Chong-Kui, who punched a 7 on the night, most dribbles on the night of any player, he had 4, 15 of 19 passing at 79%. 5 defensive contributions, 57 touches, 3 inside the Toronto FC 18. 4 of 8 on the dribble, 4 passes into the final third. 5 defensive contributions, a tackle, 2 clears, a headed clear, interceptions, 2, and he also had 2 recoveries. 7 of 15 on ground duels, fouled twice on the night. And so after the match, we caught up with head coach Jose Silva of Atlanta United 2 to discuss what happened in the match and the 1-0 win.
This one was a grinder tonight, and I think that it was one where the guys can learn a lot of different lessons about, with everything that's been happening recently, all the ups and downs, either having to fight back or fight off. This was one where you get the goal early and you persevere. So it's a different learning lesson.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you describe it. Is first 45 minutes, I think we were like in control. Second half, we lost our mind, like we lost our identity a little bit, and everything was like a little bit more slow, and that give us like to them like a little bit more life. It's true that they changed the formation in the second half and they went 4-4-2, and we couldn't figure it out that change. But then it's soccer now. There's momentum when you are going to dominate. And there's momentum when the other team is going to try to go for the game because they are losing, and I think the team find a way to survive to that moment.
And the guys at the back, obviously, I gave Kofi his numbers, and I'll read to you. This is spot on. 74 of 78 passes, 8 defensive contributions, 6 of 9 long balls, 2 tackles, 3 clearances, 3 picks, 3 recoveries, 3 of 6 on his duels. That was Tsuname's numbers.
We are really happy with him. He's one of the main reasons why the team can have the identity and has. It's a team that press high, a team that when we press, we go like kind of man to man, and he's one of the key pieces because it helps us when we have that 1v1 in the back to be really aggressive because we know that he's going to win that duel with that opponent, and he's improving a lot with the ball, and we are really, really happy with his progression.
When you look at the guys at the back on the whole, how have they progressed all season? Because you see when Cisse, when he's gotten healthy, he's progressed. See with Tsunami what he's able to do, with Daniel what he's able to do to give you those different pieces, and you know what DCQ brings to the table. What's it like to see all 4 of them progress as a group?
Amazing, and I think in the group there is a strong, healthy competition where also we have Toto Majud that didn't play today, and is another player and is a lot of quality. And this competition they have in practice, where when one has a bad day, next day the other one win the opportunity. So they are all the time like fighting for that opportunity, and that is creating that everyone is always trying to fight to be the starter in practice, and you can see that reflects in the game.
What do you think of the goal?
Well, sometimes it's funny because I think we were missing for a long time of the season like this set pieces goal, and we are really happy with the guys because today we get our 3 points through set pieces, and it's another battle inside the battles that there is inside the game.
And knowing what you want to accomplish this season, to get a win like this, take advantage of a home stand, to make sure that you get 3 points on your turf. That's big considering the surrounding games that you've got coming up.
Yeah, I mean, today was a key game for us because that separated us from, let's call it the frontier of the playoff. And I think this team, and we talk all the time with the players, and they deserve to be upper in the standing with the talent that we have in the locker room. And this put us again in a good opportunity next week against Miami to make that jump and get inside that train that is more in the top.
Jose Silva, the head coach of Atlanta United 2, after the 1-0 win over Toronto FC 2 last night up at Turner Soccer Complex in Athens, also gave us an opportunity to catch up with the goal scorer, Daniel Chica. And so here's our conversation that we had post-match with Daniel, the goal scorer, getting his second on the season, the lone goal of the match in the 1-0 win. Where is it? Where's his sound? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here we go. Right here. Hit the play button, John.
What's it like to get a big win like this, beginning of a big homestand, home all month? This one, a good first step to take here in July.
I mean, after our last couple results, it's been hard for us to get a win, you know. We've been conceding a lot of goals, but today with the clean sheet and, you know, the win will motivate us to keep going, you know. This is just like one step to keep going for what we have to come, you know.
All right, break down the goal for me. It's a throw from Dom. And
it was a missile. He threw it so hard. And then I saw Kofi, he always does like a little flick, so I went like in a decent area right behind him, and I was there and just flicked it on.
So that's instinct. That's not like training. That's not like training pitch stuff. That's just reaction from the past.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, we have that set play usually in training with Kofi there. Usually I'm in the back, but today I went forward and got the opportunity and took it, yeah. That was it.
What do you think you learned from this one? Because I mean, the four of you there at the back, you were in sync a lot of the time. You were calming things down when you needed to. You were, winning the challenges when you needed to. What do you think you learned about yourselves today?
I mean, they were playing a really low block, so they're like, defensively. I mean, we were making sure we shift, like, and cover each other more, because in past games we wouldn't shift, and maybe there was a gap where we got exploited. But today, I feel like we were covering each other and worked together, and me, Mo, and Kofi for the most part, and Dom too.
What's it like to be in a rhythm with 3 or 4 other guys and the guys in the midfield in front of you in that formation? What's it like when that rhythm is happening? What's it like?
Oh, it's good. I mean, one, if say like a 10 on the other team's steps, one could go, and then we have 4 others to cover, you know, because we play a 3, but sometimes a little like 5 back. So like it gives us more protection in the back. So I like it. I like it. Be more secure.
Daniel Chico, the goal scorer from last night, got his second on the year. Atlanta United 2 with the win. Also last night, and by the way, in 3 minutes in Burns Stadium, in suburban Providence, Rhode Island, the Revs are taking on Philadelphia Union 2 on the campus of Bryant University, Smithfield, Rhode Island. Hello. So at Burns Stadium coming up, it is a Sunday school special. The Revs and Philadelphia, and I think they're trying to beat the weather too because of what is coming in the Northeast. So the Revs and Philadelphia Union 2 about ready to kick off in suburban Providence, Rhode Island. OneFootball, MLSNextPro.com, and on the MLS YouTube channel. That's part of the big slate today in MLS Next Pro. 4:30 Eastern time at Hell in a Shell, Dynamo Dos, and Loons 2. Northern Kentucky University Soccer Stadium, it is Red Bulls 2 going to take on FC Cincinnati 2. At Reese Stadium, it is Connecticut United at 6 o'clock taking on Carolina Core. Battle at the bottom of the table, someone trying to extricate themselves from that particular position. Match of the night, I think, 7 o'clock Eastern at Matthews. Crown Legacy hosting Orlando City B. Wicks Family Field, Joe Davis Stadium, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Huntsville City Football Club and Chicago Fire. 8:30, Austin FC 2. Los Verdos trying to get another win against Colorado Rapids 2, who are having a rough season, and this one's at Palmer Field at 8:30. LAFC 2 at USC Rawlinson Stadium, around the corner from BMO, taking on Real Monarchs at 9 o'clock tonight. And Tacoma Defiance, who have now kind of found their sea legs, pardon the pun, involving Paulo Nagamura and what he wants to do systematically, taking on T2, Timbers 2 at Starfire tonight. That one's at 10 o'clock across the networks on OneFootball, MLSNextPro.com, and the MLS YouTube channel. Just so, to give you an idea on the standings, after last night, Crew 2 at 17 matches played, 34 points, 2 points ahead of Crown Legacy going into the match day today. Red Bulls at 31 points, 1 more win than the Revs and Chattanooga. Chattanooga winning at Erlanger Park last night in front of a crowd of north of 6,000. So Nicely done there at the new baseball stadium in Chattanooga. And Revs have 8 wins. Chattanooga with 8 wins. Revs have 2 matches in hand, and they also have a better goal difference. OCB is at 29 points. Atlanta now is at 27, so they are in 7th place. NYCFC is at 25. They are in 8th. That would be the playoffs if the bar stopped today and no one could find a dime to get in through the toll booth. Chicago Fire right now are in 9th, 23 points. TFC2 with the loss, they're at 22 in 10th. Philadelphia Union 2 could use a win in a big way to try and pole vault a couple of folks. 16 matches, 21 points. They've only scored 17 goals in 16 matches this year. No real surprise with Philadelphia Union offensively. Connecticut United at 19 points. Same number of wins as Huntsville City, but they have a better goal difference, so that puts them in 12 and 13. Carolina Core, 17 points, 17 matches at 3, 8, 6, and 2. And remember, Carolina Core basically blew up their entire front office about a month ago. And so they're trying to figure out what they want to do. 17 points, 17 matches. They're in 14th. FC Cincinnati 2, 4 and 11 this year. They've scored 13 goals in 15 matches, given up 27. And when you're not scoring, you're not winning, and pretty much anything is decided with FC Cincinnati in 90 minutes. No more. 4 wins, 11 losses. That's it. 12 points. And Inter Miami CF2 coming to Turner Soccer Complex next week at 0-11, 4-1. They are, get this, they are 0-4-2 at the Erector set. They are 0-7-2 away from home. 5 points, and they're dead last in the Eastern Conference in MLS Next Pro. In the West, Los Verdos, 37.6 points clear of Houston Dynamo, who have a match in hand at 31 points. Timbers 2 are at 29. They have 1 more win than Ventura County and St. Louis City 2. Goal difference is far better for Ventura County over St. Louis City, so that's why they are 4 and 5. LAFC 2 is at 27 points. Loons 2 is at 26. Quakes are at 25. North Texas SC, who got to start playing at their new stadium in Mansfield, Texas, last night, they're at 22 points. Real Monarchs and Tacoma Defiance each have 5 wins. Real Monarchs have a better goal difference by the slimmest margin, 1 goal, 10th and 11th. Whitecaps 2 are in 12th at 14. Sporting Kansas City 2, after their horrendous start, they're kind of shaking things off a little bit, but their defense is still awful. And they are at 13 points in 17 matches. In Colorado Rapids 2, they have won only once. 1-10, 5-1. They are at 9 points in 16 matches. I mentioned the defense for Sporting Kansas City 2. They have given up 44 goals this season. Worst defense in the league. 17 matches, so that is 2 and 10 over 17, which is what? It's like 2.6. And no surprise, the worst defense in the East is Inter Miami CF2. Messi and Friends 2, 15 matches, 37 goals. They're not averaging a goal a match. They are, however, giving up 2.5, basically. So 7 and 15, 7 over 15, so just about 2.5 goals a match. And they come to Athens next weekend to take on Atlanta United 2, and another big win, probability for the Twos, or it's a possibility for the Twos. And it's another chance to continue climbing up the table. A win next week would put them in line with being 6th ahead of Orlando City B, or in the neighborhood, in the shouting distance of Chattanooga, the Revs, and the Red Bulls. So once again, Revs and Philadelphia Union 2 right now underway. For those of you that just want to have live soccer on in the room, you can watch that and have that on as a part of your day. All right, so let's take the tour really quickly, see if there's any news that we might have missed. And let's take a peek at our friendly neighborhood sourcings. Manchester United interested in signing Chelsea midfielder Andre Santos this summer. Keep an eye on that. Jadon Anthony is set to join Brentford from Burnley on a 4-year deal. £15 million plus 2 and the fee, so 17 million total. Ange Postecoglou has arrived in Riyadh ahead of joining Al Nassr. Draped the scarf around him when he got into the airport. Like I said, we mentioned the Tyreek George deal. 18 plus 6 in add-ons and a 15% sell-on clause. Nice piece of business done by Chelsea. So that carries us there with our buddy Ben Jacobs. Is there anything domestic that we might have missed? Once again, kind of touring to see what's going on. I think we're safe domestically. And I will check the papers just to make sure that we have all the intel and info that we need. Let's see. Let's see how to write our own chapters. Luis De La Fuente, I say this with the greatest respect. We have the best midfield in the world. There are a few, I think, that would doubt De La Fuente at the moment. So, Fulham move for Somerville. Grant and Xhaka staying at Sunderland. Let's see. Oh, Cabo Verde returned home, by the way. And it was an amazing thing. And, yeah, you'll be seeing me wearing a lot more Cabo Verde gear because, I went to Capelli. Sports. And shocking no one, bought stuff for me and the boss. So, yeah, we'll be wearing a lot more Cabo Verdean stuff as we go. Nothing in the Guardian, although we are keeping an eye on the Matty Cusack inquest overseas. That might be required reading, and that might be a deep dive for you if you have the time on your Sunday. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything that we might have missed. A lot of World Cup. And I think we're 2 for 2 when it comes to the papers. Georgia Stanway has signed for Arsenal. How do we know this? Because we have the photo of Georgia Stanway staring into the camera, pen above the contract, but not signing the piece of paper. So Georgia Stanway has signed for Arsenal on the women's football side of things. That happened a couple days ago, joining the WSL runners up on a permanent after a Bayern Munich exit. And so it was 8 trophies and 128 matches, 4 seasons in the Frauen-Bundesliga. And Georgia Stanway now comes back to Arsenal on a permanent. And a cool piece of news, Durham Women FC have been saved from extinction, basically, from extinction. WSL2 side saved from extinction by Jeff Thompson, the South Shields co-owner and chairman. Club announced earlier this month they were 3 weeks away from ceasing to exist unless they found a buyer or got investment. And part of the acquisition plan, club founders Lee Sanders and Dawn Heppel remaining as shareholders. The existing executive management team is going to continue to lead day-to-day operations. Thompson became chairman of South Shields, the National League North side in 2015. Significant success in the tenure, 3 consecutive promotions, won the FA Vase at Wembley. So good to see that Durham Women FC have been saved from their fate. So that's very, very cool stuff there. Looking at my rundown, I think that's pretty much everything. So here's the rundown for the week as we know it. No, I am not Daniel Cheek. I've got to fix that font since that soundbite is done. So here's the rundown for the week. Tonight, it's Atlanta Soccer tonight, and that will be on later than late. And I'm trying to see if it's 8 to 10 or 9 to 11. It is 9 to 11 tonight on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app and the 92.9 YouTube channel. So 9 to 10, it is it's going to be on all 3. So 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, 92.9 YouTube channel, 9 to 11. They're going to go through the World Cup. They're going to be keeping an eye out on Mexico and England, obviously with an 8 o'clock start. They'll be talking about it, kind of doing a bit of a watch-alongy kind of thing. But 9 to 11 tonight, Atlanta Soccer tonight with Jason and the cast of thousands. And that is, once again, over the air, 92.9 The Game, WZGC FM, Odyssey app, if you do things that way instead of over the air these days on a receiver, and then on the YouTube channel as well. So keep an eye out on all 3 of those, and we'll have some of the greatest hits for AST tomorrow. Speaking of AST, for SDH AM tomorrow. SDH AM tomorrow, going to be Abe, going to look at the matchups. It's going to be Bart. We're going to look at what happens with the USMNT, and we're going to preview that. Tuesday is a power hour, 8 to 9. We're going to go over it and get you ready for Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll be back to normal. Dylan Butler is going to be joining us at 10 o'clock. We'll be going over all the things and getting you ready for the week. We try to bring in a couple of guests here and there. I think we've got guests on Thursday morning about a new documentary, if memory serves. So that'll be early morning on Thursday, and getting you ready for the rest of the week as we go. So we're going to track down some of our friends. I think Kaylor Hodges is going to be joining us at some point, and we'll catch up with him and find out what's going on in his brain and what's going on in USL Championship in League One, because we haven't talked to him in a month. So going to be normal for SDH AM except for Tuesday. Argentina, Egypt at noon means a power hour from 8 to 9. And then we're out the door heading down to Atlanta Stadium to watch Argentina and Egypt and the rest of the day there. The next 4 days are going to be ridiculous. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're all going to be insane. Let me see if I've missed anything news-wise. We mentioned Nathan Ake. Real Madrid has Ed Denzel Dumfries in a $23 million move. Orlando Gil from Paraguay might be Torino bound. Might actually be getting a paycheck, because apparently he hasn't been paid in 6 months. So we'll keep an eye on all of that too. But yeah, Orlando Gil, talk about a payday. He's getting a payday. Juice boxes one more time before we get out of here. Brazil is a minus 125 going up against Norway at a plus 375. Draws a plus 275 for 90 minutes tonight. Mexico is a plus 210. Seriously, they're a plus 210. Draws a plus 220. England's a plus 145. Good luck. I ain't touching it, but I'm looking at that one and I'm going, nope. I believe that would be what we refer to as a line mistake, but that's just me. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. It was great to catch up on everything that happened on a very, very busy Saturday in a bunch of different fronts. And we're going to catch back up with you tonight. Atlanta Soccer tonight, 9 to 11 with Jason. Back at it again here, SDH AM, in a little less than 22 hours. We'll go over what happened and get you ready for Monday Night Football with the 12s in Seattle. Lumen Field, otherwise known as Seattle Stadium, for another couple of weeks. It is going to be seismic. Find your favorite seismologist. You might need his intel. So for everybody here at SDH, have a great Sunday. Keep an eye on the weather. Just keep an eye on it. And have fun, but just be careful out there. I feel like, so if I'm going to do that, play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And I'm going to defer to a particular individual when it comes to the weather and the crazy, and just making sure that everything is the way that it should be on a Sunday. And I've got to find somebody in particular to give the message and the phrase that pays. So I'm going to go, of course, it's probably all the way down at the bottom of everything. So I'm having to kill time. But to wrap up the show this morning, we go to our friend Phil Esterhaus. Mucha platial, play it safe. We'll catch up with you in less than 22 hours here on the SDH Network. Have a great Sunday, everybody.
Hey, let's be careful. Huh?